Mike, we're just about ready for the start of fall camp, but of course, there's a lot to talk about with recruiting. It's been a very, dare I say, noisy week for Notre Dame football recruiting. Let's start with Dylan Edwards, a running back out of Kansas who is committed to Kansas State, but is now decommitted from the Wildcats, and Notre Dame seems to have surged to the top of his list as possible places to play college football. Give us your perspective on how this has all come about for Dylan Edwards.
Came together quickly, Darren. Look, I mean, Notre Dame was interested in him last summer. He visited campus in June of 2021, but nothing really came of it. He commits to Kansas State. A long recruiting process. I think there's a lot of people who thought he's going to commit to Oklahoma when he was taking official visits, a couple months ago. Ends up picking Kansas State over the Sooners, and that was in late June, Darren. So, a kid from Kansas. His dad, Leon, was a running back for the Wildcats about 30 years ago. His commitment was a really big deal in the state, and gets an offer from Notre Dame. It was just last Wednesday. That day, books a trip to go to South Bend on Thursday. So he booked it for the next day. So he gets out to South Bend on Thursday. Marcus Freeman, that was the day that Freeman was in New York. The New York Yankees even tweeted a picture of Freeman. I think it was, I believe he was with Foskey, at the Yankees game. And Freeman gets back to Notre Dame Friday. Edwards was on campus Friday as well. And I'm told Freeman made a really big impact there. And then that night, Edwards decommits from Kansas State. Again, Kansas State legacy, was already recruiting for the Wildcats. Just committed. And then 2 days from picking up his Notre Dame offer, 48 hours. And by all accounts, it looks really good for Notre Dame. Like, I know Oregon's still pushing for him. Other programs still want him. But when you just kind of read the tea leaves, Darren, it looks really good for Notre Dame here. And Edwards is a sub 4.4 40-yard dash guy. My sources call him a true scat back. So, slot, jet motions, screens out of the backfield, bubble screens, kickoff, punt return, all that stuff. That's Dylan Edwards when he gets to South Bend. Between him, Christian Gray, Micah Bell, some speedy players in the Irish's 2023 class, and all these guys, are going to be up there for fastest guys on the team, with the likes of Chris Tyree and some of those guys. Yeah, Dylan Edwards would be a really good get if Notre Dame's able to close on him. We'll see how it goes, but I do like the Irish, and once he decommitted, I went ahead and logged a prediction for him to land in South Bend.
Mike, for people that are just listening on the radio, I highly encourage them to go to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel, which we're broadcasting on. You're showing film right now of Dylan Edwards, and it's really fascinating. As you were talking, we're seeing all the different ways their high school used him. He is all over the place, and also factor in he's a guy that can help you on punt returns and kickoff returns. So this guy can cover a lot of different roles on a football team.
Just if you're listening on radio and not watching on YouTube, just think of like that. He's listed at about 5'8", 160. So just think about a small offensive weapon who's really fast and really shifty, like a Darren Sproles-esque guy who starred all those years with Chargers and Eagles, I want to say, in the NFL. Like, that's Dylan Edwards. Notre Dame doesn't really get many players like Dylan Edwards. So I'd say Chris Tyree is more of a true running back than Dylan Edwards, but like Tyree has that speed and, the quickness and the agility. Edwards is a little bit more of a, like I said earlier, a scat back who can just do so many different things.
We've talked a lot about quarterbacks in the class of 2023. We've gone from Dante Moore to Austin Novosad, and it looks like we're now moving on to Kenny Minchey, who is committed to Pat Narduzzi and the Pittsburgh Panthers, but Notre Dame, Mike, has recently offered Minchey. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on Minchey, first of all. And the second part of the thought I'd like to get from you is, now that we're in August, dead period? Is it going to be difficult to flip a guy like this?
Yeah, I'll answer your second question first. So yeah, all of August, there's no face-to-face contact between um, college coach and recruit. So it's a period for Notre Dame to like start recruiting Kenny Minchey, where it's just building that relationship. So they have a month to do that, and then hope to get him on campus for the fall. And that's pretty much this dead period's got its pros and cons for Notre Dame. Like it's it's more ideal that they could just try to get Kenny Minchey up on campus as soon as possible. But so that's a con. But the pro is, I know we're going to talk about a couple committed players for the Irish, who have been visiting other places. That's good for the Irish that they can't visit anywhere for the month of August. They can kind of regroup and come up with a plan to keep those players. So yeah, some pros and cons there. As far as Minchey as a player, he's listed, what was it, like 6'1", 200 pounds, and he's a good build, throws a really nice ball. He just kind of looks like the type of quarterback that Notre Dame's had in recent years, and I definitely mean that as a compliment. Like, he's athletic. Yeah, competed really well at the Elite 11 in Los Angeles at the end of June. I would see Minchey as a big get for Notre Dame. You mentioned he's committed to Pittsburgh. I'm sure the head coach there absolutely loves Notre Dame coming after his quarterback, Darren. But it's look, I said that Notre Dame going after Dylan Edwards was going to be an uphill battle, and I was very wrong on that one. Some sources I talked to close to that recruitment, were I was told very, very surprised if Dylan Edwards would decommit from Kansas State, and then 2 days later he does. For Minchey, though, I'm hearing the same thing, but feel more confident that it's going to be tough to flip him from Pittsburgh. Notre Dame had him on campus for a camp. What was it, Irish Invasion back in 2021, and they didn't offer him. They had a lot of opportunities to offer him and didn't. I'm told the staff even went to see him, I believe, in the spring evaluation period, didn't offer him. So, some players don't, kind of have that chip on their shoulder, like, oh, now you're offering me, kind of thing. It's a little too late. We'll see how it shakes out with Minchey.
Just for maybe the average recruiting fan, let me ask this question. You're talking about the dead period in August. If you are a football coach, and let's just use Minchey as an example, what could you do over the next couple of weeks, communication-wise, or whatever you might do to try to entice him to keep Notre Dame in his thoughts?
I mean, Darren, remember when COVID hit, we had a recruiting dead period from March of 2020 to you could start recruiting face-to-face again June of 2021. So, was that 14, 15 months? That was all dead period. Notre Dame built a recruiting class during a dead period. So it's the same stuff. It's just everything you would do in recruiting, except for you can't meet them face-to-face. So it's Zoom calls, phone calls, texting, sending the kids graphic, just, good old remote recruiting. That's basically it. So it's just, again, building a relationship with the young man.